Welcome to Petals, pathways to elevation, transformation, awareness, liberation, and self-love. I'm your host, Moreblessing Zvikomborero Chaibva. Petals isn't just a podcast, it's a movement of reflection and renewal. Petals is a safe space where we explore the universal journey of healing, of personal transformation, and of self-acceptance. It is a space where we encourage each other to bloom boldly into who we have always been meant to be. On last week's episode, we spoke much about the weight of words. And for the purposes of those who didn't manage to listen in, I'm just going to share 3 key takeaways from last week's episode. So the first takeaway is that negative words spoken to us can bring seed of self-doubt. And we were talking much about how words shape us actually when we are still young and in the formative years of our lives. So basically, words are seeds, and therefore we need to be careful how we speak to our children. The second takeaway, the second point that I talked about was that both criticism and overpraising can shape how we perform and see our worth. And I touched on the concept of overpraising, how it can bring about seed of perfectionism and seeds of performance within our children. The third point that I talked about was that the silence of unspoken affirmation can also shape us. And let's say, for instance, within the household, your child has achieved something big. Your child has, attained a big achievement. And we do not acknowledge that achievement. And as parents, we fail to recognize, and as parents, we fail to acknowledge what our child has achieved. It also has an impact on the child, and it can bring in feelings of inadequacy, and it plants that seed of inadequacy and that seed of, I have to do better next time. And always it makes the child feel as if whatever they have done was not good enough, and it is also equally a bad seed as the negative words that are spoken to us. So this is a summary of what we discussed last week. Words are seeds, and we are the soil. And this is where I would like to start this week's discussion on. Words are seeds, and we are the soil. The thing with words is that you don't know the soil where your words are landing on. And by soil, I mean the person who is receiving the words. So some people, they naturally are resilient, they naturally are strong, and can take such negative words, and maybe they can just brush them aside. Or some people have a strong willpower, and they will not allow, negative words spoken to them, or the concept of overpraising to have an impact on how they show up into the world. That's good for them. But if you would have deeper conversations with those people, and as we will explore in the future episodes, you'll find that those words actually do had an impact in their younger lives. But then there's another group of people, and I think that is where I would also characterize myself at the time. The soil type, which is a little bit more, let me use the word vulnerable, and susceptible. So these type of people, they emotional people, and they take words to heart. So whatever thing is said to them, and especially again, I'll emphasize words spoken in the younger formative years of one's life. Some children take words literally, whether it is praise, whether it is negative words being spoken to them. So you find that maybe two individuals might have received the same kind of treatment, might have received the same kind of negativity, might have been teased growing up or bullied because of how they appeared, might have been bullied, or might have received negative words because of their performance in school, maybe within the family and everything. But another person, the one person, can take those words to heart and begin to be influenced and begin to shape their belief system around the words that are being spoken to them or that have been spoken to them. And the other person might not even look or seem to have been affected by those words. They might even take them and turn them around, use them in a positive way to prove to those other people that, that they are better, that they are worthy, and all those things. So the point that I'm trying to make is you do not know the soil where your words are landing, and we said words are seeds. So you don't know what kind of a seedling or what kind of plant, what kind of seed are you sowing when you speak those words, because you don't know the soil where your words are landing on. So the first thing is just to be careful with how we speak to our children, how we speak to each other, and also in the same light, how do we receive the words that are spoken to us? And in this episode, I want to talk about words that do take root, and unfortunately in a negative way. And those words, they begin to shape your belief system. They begin to influence how you show up into the world. They influence how you see yourself. So now what happens when you become trapped in the mirror? And this is what we are going to talk about today. So you know that feeling when you wake up in the morning, you look in the mirror, and before you even say good morning to yourself, you're already critiquing. And I remember in the first episode, I asked you, what is it that you see when you look into the mirror? And I told you that as a young girl, when I would look into the mirror, I saw darkness, and I saw, ugly, I saw undeserving, and I saw unworthy. What do you see when you look into the mirror? I know most of us, we begin to self-doubt. We begin, maybe you are having a meeting later that day. Am I going to make it? Am I good enough? Will I be able to deliver? Or you're going to school, are you going to participate? Are you going to be an active participant, or you're just going to sink back into the background because you don't want to be seen? You critique yourself. But then the thing with the mirror is that it isn't just a glass. The mirror is a reflection of the stories that we have been told and the words that we have come to believe. And if we are not careful, it can become a trap, and we can be stuck in cycles of self-sabotage. We can be stuck in cycles of comparison. We can be stuck in cycles of inadequacy just because of what we see when we look in the mirror. So comparison tells us that our worth depends on how we measure up. But the truth is, guys, comparison is a thief. It is not just a thief of joy. It steals away your gratitude, and it also takes away your peace. And it makes you forget that your journey is yours and yours alone. And sometimes I've come to realize we are not fighting even the world's expectations. We are not fighting the words that have been spoken to us. We are now fighting the version of ourselves that we think we are. So I mentioned that we can be stuck in cycles of self-sabotage, and I would like us to take a deep dive into the concept of self-sabotage. So what I've come to realize about self-sabotage, usually it's not outright, visible. It is a silent kind of sin, so to speak. It often hides behind good intentions, almost like self-preservation. And we like to call it being realistic. So we just say to ourselves, oh no, I'm not ready yet, or maybe I'll try next year. But beneath those phrases often lies the fear of not being good enough, the fear of failure, or the fear of success. So let me give an example of how self-sabotage might look like. And I'll use myself as an example. I've had an opportunity to rise within my career. And by that time, I had just joined a mission outside of Zimbabwe, which is my home country. So the opportunity arose, and I was, frankly speaking, fairly positioned to land the position. But because I felt I was not ready, I felt that I didn't have adequate experience within that country, and I felt that I didn't have enough expertise to rise to a higher post, I decided not to apply for that position. And so I would later, my colleagues and my friends would later ask me, did you apply for that role? Because you are next in line and it's obviously going to be given to you. And I told them, no, I didn't apply. And they were a little bit surprised that, why didn't you apply for that role? And my response was that I am not ready for it. And I said, I don't think I have enough experience for me to play that role. But in all earnest, now and upon reflection, after I began my reflection and after I began, this journey back to myself, I really had much time to ponder on that opportunity, that missed opportunity. And I saw that the reason behind my failure to apply for that position at the time was not necessarily because I didn't have experience, but it was because I didn't feel confident enough. I didn't feel that I was good enough to be able to land such a role. And so I self-sabotaged. I hope this example makes clear the concept of self-sabotage. So it's usually as a result of an hidden feeling within us that makes us think that we are inadequate, that makes us think that we are not good enough. And so when we put it to the outside world, we just say, oh no, I was being realistic. There was no way that I was going to land that job. But how do you know that you're not going to land that job if you do not try? You never know. So my point is that these feelings of inadequacy, these feelings of I'm not good enough, these feelings of I'm not worthy, they can have you trapped, and they can result in you foregoing certain opportunities. And these opportunities, some of them, they are once in a lifetime, and once you miss it for good, and you don't know when the next opportunity might come. All because of the fear of not being good enough, the fear of failure, or the fear of success. The cruel irony is this, guys, you always end up proving the very lie you believed. You always end up proving that very lie that you believed, that very lie that you told yourself. It becomes your reality. The voice that once said you cannot becomes the prophecy that you fulfill. The harsh words spoken to us become the harsh words we speak to ourselves. And like I mentioned, I've lived that cycle. This is just one example of how I used to self-sabotage. I can go to lengths about how I self-sabotaged my relationships, how I sabotaged my relationship with people of the opposite sex, how I sabotaged my relationships with my family, how I sabotaged myself at work, how I sabotaged myself even at church. And I have lived that cycle for 38 years. This cycle where you push yourself to exhaustion for validation. And when the praise finally comes, you can't even receive it because you don't think you're worth it. And so you tend to push away well-meaning people. You tend to push away people that love you because you don't think you're worthy. But at the same time, you want to be validated. You want to be loved, but you don't believe you're worthy. Do you see how vicious this cycle is? You want to be loved so much, but you hate yourself so much. But at the same time, you're expecting the next person to love you and to honor you and to hold you above all other. How can that be possible when you do not have love for yourself, when you do not have respect for yourself? When someone comes in who is trying to give you that love that you are desiring so much, you push them away because you don't believe you deserve to be loved. But within you, deep down, there is that need, that natural need to feel loved and to love. But you can't love yourself. And so if you cannot love yourself, how can you be able to love the next person? And how can you be in a position to receive love from others when you have not done so yourself? This is something that we will explore in another episode. I call it the law of attraction, that you attract what you are. So if you're self-hating, if you're self-doubting, if you're self-limiting, you tend to bring that energy out into the world, and that energy radiates back to you. So you tend to also attract people who look down on you. You tend to attract people who don't value you because they see how you see yourself. This will be explored in another episode. And so, I want us to reflect on these prompts. So in this segment, guys, I want us to do this simple but very powerful practice. The next time that inner critic starts speaking to you, the next time you look into the mirror and you start to doubt yourself, you see something that you're not, I want you to ask yourself, whose voice is this? Whose reflection am I seeing in the mirror? Is this reflection shaped by me? Or is it shaped by my mom? Is it shaped by my parents? Is it shaped by a teacher, a relative, a partner, a friend? Is it shaped by a society that told you your worth was conditional? Ask yourself that question, because awareness breaks the spell. Once you know that voice is not truly yours, you can choose to silence it. You can choose to begin to challenge that voice, and you can choose to begin to challenge that narrative. And so today, I want you to take a moment and reflect. What story do I tell myself when I look in the mirror, number one? Number two, where did that story begin? And number three, what truth can I tell myself instead? Because guys, remember, the mirror shows your reflection. It does not show your value. And in closing, I want to say this to you. You are not what others said you are. You are not what others said you are. You are what you believe yourself to be. You are who you believe yourself to be. And so again, I ask, whose voice are you listening to? Is it your own? Who has shaped the way you see yourself today? Is it you? Is it your parents? Is it people close to you? Or is it your society? Whose voice? Whose voice? Whose reflection? Who shaped the reflection that you see in the mirror today? Thank you for listening to Petals. Remember, your journey matters, your voice is powerful, and your petals are still unfolding. If this episode spoke to you, share it with someone who needs a reminder today that they are more than enough. And until next time, keep blooming boldly and beautifully. Thank you and bye.